Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all the viewers of Men's Talk Town. So, from whichever part of the world you're watching this, you're most welcome on this new episode. Today, I have a very special guest, a very eminent personality, Brigadier Sushil Bhasin, sir. Welcome, sir, to the talk show,
Thank you.
and it's absolute pleasure to have you here. Well, I'm sure most of you know him, and he's a very popular personality. But quickly, I'm just going to say a very few lines about him. Brigadier Sushil Bhasin sir is a military-inspired leadership and team-building expert, team consciousness coach, global keynote speaker, a three-time TEDx speaker and two-time Josh Talk speaker. He's authored several books, including Million Dollar Second, published by CNBC and endorsed by Brian Tracy. That's interesting. He is a keynote speaker, a very powerful keynote speaker, and he has spoken in multiple nationalities, including USA, Dubai, Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, Philippines, Muscat, Indonesia, and Kuwait. That's a very exhaustive list. He is on the executive committee of PSAI, that is Professional Speakers Association of India. And personally, also, I know Sir, he is a very inspiring personality and he supports everyone a lot. So, welcome, Sir, once again.
Thank you very much, Sonali. It's my pleasure and honor to be on this show.
Thank you, Sir. So, as the we'll dive straight into the topic, and as the theme of this podcast is that we try to understand the men's perspective about women. The idea behind this is that to understand how men think, how men feel, and how men behave so as to create a safer environment for women. If there is a better understanding, I think things will improve and things can be much better and easier for both the genders to operate. So the first question goes like, what do you think about women in general, or rather, who are the women in your life, and how do you encourage them?
Okay, Sonali, and viewers, if you permit me, I'll go a little back into my background. When I was a little child, my grandfather, he had lost his wife, that is my grandmother, during the partition days. So, and my mother, who was just 19 when she got married to the eldest child of my grandfather, she became the head of the family at such a young age. And what I saw when I started growing up, that for my grandfather, women were extremely important. I still remember as a child when he would tell, he would treat a girl very differently than boys. And I one day asked him, why are you so favoring girls? So he said, वो देवियां होती हैं. तो मैंने कहा हम देवते नहीं, कहता तुम बदमाश. So the point is that we grew up with this with this tagline, लड़कियां देवियां होती हैं, उनको पूजा जाता है. So having grown up with that mindset, right from the beginning, I have had a very special respect for women, and I have never had, I have always been agitated when I see violence against women, or when I see husbands dominating their wives and things like that. It actually hurts me and pains me. So as I grew up, and in the army, we didn't have any women those days at all. So you were not dealing with women professionally. And in my life, that time, there was only one woman, and that was my mother. But after I got married, there's another woman that came into my life. Till today, we are married for 47 years. I don't think my wife has ever heard that you have to do this. Right from the time we got married, she had the liberty to wear what she wanted. She had the choice to do what she wanted. And of course, for first few years, it was different. But now, at least for the last 10 years, I'll say, there are so many things we don't agree with each other. But we respect each other's place. For example, I'm very fond of parties and all. She's okay, she goes for them. But sometimes she'll say, I am in a mood, not a mood to go for a party. In the beginning, I said, no, if you're not going, I am also not going. Then she said that is emotional blackmail. And therefore, we came to a conclusion. It's my space. So she would sit back at home and I would go. She's very fond of movies. I am not. So either she goes for movies with her friends. She goes for movies with the children. And sometimes she says, Sonika, that's my daughter. She's buying some tickets. Will you come with us? And once in a while, I'll say, okay, because the family is going just to accompany them. I may go and sleep in the movie hall. That's a different matter. So for me, it has been a very different ball game. Not that I'm saying it because today there's a show where I'm talking about women, but I think almost any woman who has come in touch with me would know that I give them priorities. And we'll talk further later.
Right. So, right, I think you've put a very, very beautiful point across here. So, there is also a Sanskrit quote that goes as Yatra Naristu Pujate Ramante Tatra Devata. So, it goes as like जहाँ पर नारियों का वास है, स्त्रियों को पूजा जाता है, वहाँ पर देवों का निवास होता है. Where the women are worshipped, the Lord Himself, the God Himself stays there. So I think, sir, it's in the demeanor, like, in your behavior, it always shows people who would rather, just say that, yes, I respect a woman, and those who actually do it, because that stark difference is always seen. I'm very sure. And I can vouch for it knowing you and having interacted with you, absolutely. So yeah, that's a great viewpoint you have posted across. And one more thing which I picked up from your conversation is that adjustment. Those little adjustments are very much needed. So moving
It
to
is
the next question.
it's basically respecting the other person
Right.
and not trying to have a priority right that I am supreme. What I say you have to do. So I'll also tell you one thing. My mother used to tell me one thing. When you get married and there's a conflict between what I am saying and what your wife says, and I'm not even married that time, hypothetically,
Right.
please support her, not me. And then she used to say that I used to feel sometimes when your father didn't support me, I used to feel very bad. And then, the way she explained to me and what I started realizing, and I was quite young that time, was I started imagining that if I was to leave my house, go to a stranger house, and start adjusting there. So as it is me who moved out from my comfort zone. I am adjusting to you, and then you want further that I should only do what you do. So I have done my bit. What are you doing to adjust with me? So this I want to bring a basic fact here, and why I went back. That whatever you see at home, if you see women being ill-treated at home, if you see if it is a routine that your father is dominating your mother, and I've had many cases where we have dealt with as commanding officer. My wife has dealt with cases where the husband was beating the wife and all that. It was, it was the effect that was happening on the child. Now look at what a child goes through. One, he feels helpless that my mother is getting beaten. That is number one. Number two, he thinks it's normal. ऐसा तो होता ही है, सारे करते हैं. And then he also will probably start doing the same thing. So I feel the family background and the upbringing of a child has a very big say. There are few people who can change later, but I think if you are strong in your childhood like I was, I never had to put any effort to say that I need to respect women and all that.
Absolutely, sir. Very well brought out point, and it impacts the entire environment, as you have mentioned.
Yeah, it does.
So here, yeah, yes, definitely. So here, one particular question I would like to ask you, that when you say that they feel supreme, so what could be the reason that a man feels, that level of supremacy, and at times it may not be really attached to education. Sometimes the lady is highly educated or has greater qualifications than a man, but they feel that that I am supreme and you have to listen to me. So why do you think that mentality creeps in a man? Or
In fact, I've had this basic question to men: why do you think so? And I'll also tell you one thing. Maybe either it is traditional that you've seen it happen. You think Because that is a general thing happening. Majority is doing it. In most movies, you'll see it. So the impact is that everyone feels that's the normal way. That a wife must listen to me. She must do exactly what I do. And if I quote you an incident, I was in Mao doing a course. It was a 1-year residential course, higher command. And my wife, along with another friend, there was a little place where there were Army Wife Welfare Association. There were about 5-6 places. So one was a beauty parlor, one was a children's tuition school, and so on. So my wife was looking after the school, and her friend in the neighborhood next building was looking after the beauty parlor. So one day they were sitting together. There was no work. There was no classes. Children had just gone, and there was nobody in the beauty parlor. And a lady walked in, and she started talking to her friend. Her name is Babu. She started talking to her that what hair will suit me and what. So she gave her some idea that if you have this short hair, it'll look better on you and all that. And my wife also agreed and said, "Yeah, I think that will look good." She said, "Okay, I'll come later." She said, "But aren't you convinced?" She says, No, I'll have to go and ask my husband." So she said, "Why do you have to ask your husband?" "I have never asked. My husband has never told me what length of hair I should keep and all that." So she said, No, I don't even buy a sari without asking her." I said, "My God, I don't even know what my wife is buying, and she's free to buy and wear anything she likes. Why is he doing it?" And he's also an officer and turned out to be an ASC officer later. So this has, it has shocked me, it has surprised me. I don't understand why people do it, but they do it. So therefore, I feel it's a matter of attitude. It is also a matter of, I keep taking it back to that it's your background, it is your grooming. If you were taught from your childhood that men are important, probably it goes into your mind. Second reason I think could be because of physical dominance, or maybe people say it was traditional. No, in India, in our religion and all, women were goddesses. There's no evidence that men were dominating women even in the ancient ages. But this has been sadly a tradition which has come about for no reason.
Totally understand. And that's a very, very nice incidents that you have shared. Nice in terms of, I think, eye opener. It's an eye opener for everyone that how things transpire, and these are very, very subtle points, which on a larger scale it looks very routine. But
Okay, Sonali, can I also add something
please,
which
please.
you know for sure, but your viewers may not know that? I don't know of any organization in India other than the Indian Armed Forces. And sometimes when I say army, I will always mean Army, Navy, Air Force. But because I am from the army, that word army comes in spontaneously. We are the only organization where an officer is not told but taught how to deal with women, how to respect women. I don't know how many people know that a lady in the army is saluted. If I'm in uniform, I will salute a lady. Not that she's an officer, no. An officer's wife, an officer's, So even if a general is in uniform and he meets a captain's wife who may be just 20, 22 years old, will salute. If a lady walks into the mess and there are 3 generals sitting, they will stand up to greet. If there's an army commander coming as a guest, the ladies will be served before the army commander. Now, this is something that got further reinforcing my childhood ideas. I joined the army at the age of 19 and I saw this culture. And then as things moved forward, I also realized, and before that, I'll tell you a little joke. There was this young girl who got married to a captain. And she was from that era when women's lib was just being talked about. It was probably the beginning of women standing up for their rights and saying we are also equal and all. So this girl belonged to that type, from college, probably that feeling that women are equal and all that. So when she came and she was entering a car, and a senior major opened the door for her. So she, oh, Major, don't worry. You don't have to open the door for me just because I'm a lady. He said, Ma'am, I did not open the door for you because you're a lady. I did that because I am a gentleman. So this has been the type of teaching. And the last thing I'll tell you is, I've personally done at least 3 court of inquiries where a lady, which is an officer's wife, had complained. There was one case where a waiter had tried to, pass some snide remarks to that lady that she was looking very good or something. So once it happened, he brushed his shoulders with her. She sort of took it, ki galti se ho gaya hoga. 2-3 times he did, and then she told her husband. And in the party, nothing happened, but after that, he reported the matter. So I did a court of inquiry. And what I realized was this man was punished very severely. There's an Army Act, Section 45. Under that, if an officer misbehaves with a lady, he's taken to action. I haven't seen any organization that does that. So that is the type of respect we have for the women in the army. And this it went and reinforced my life. That I already was believing in that, and this cemented the whole thing.
Sir, absolutely, and I can, vouch for this. I mean, in several ways. Also, I would also share one, small incidents. Like I work with an officer called Captain Ahmed. He's a very senior officer here, and he's into theater also. So we work together for theater thing. Every time, I travel with him somewhere, he gets down of his car, he opens the door for me. Even today, he's retired, and he's pretty senior to me. So that gesture is it's amazing, because those qualities are imbibed forever. So it's such a
Yeah.
small gesture, but
So, in
that
a
always.
Rotary club,
And I
sorry.
always tell him that, sir, I am an officer and junior to you. Please don't. He said, no, ma'am, I'm not going to stop. And it's the way it is.
You
So
know, in
these are.
sorry,
So
sorry.
no. I was just saying that same thing. Or I was just reiterating your point that it's always imbibed, and this is so beautiful. So
Now
yes, you were.
once I'm retired, and so my wife sometimes tells me, "You're no longer in the army. Why are you doing that?" I said, it's ingrained in me. If I am getting into a lift and there are some ladies, I never get into the lift till the last lady is in the. Even if I have to go later. In Rotary Club once, uh, I was standing in the queue for food. There were 2 ladies behind, so I got behind them and said, "आगे आ जाइए." So they said, "नहीं नहीं आप रहिए." You were standing there. I said, "No, no." So my wife said, "Yeah, this is not the army anymore now, yaar. You'll never get your food like this." Okay, but it is such a habit. I walked into a bank. I wanted to say something to the branch manager. I was in uniform in Bangalore, and the moment I entered, I said, "Good morning, ma'am." No, I'm not supposed to salute her, but that's a habit. So by habit, you're saluting a woman, so I did that. She said, "Sir, मैं बाकी बात मैं बात करूंगी. अब मेरे को बताओ कि why do army officers do this?" She said, "Sir, you came. There were 2 people sitting there. You went and sat down on that sofa. Nobody does that. People come in. मैं किसी से बात कर रही हूँ, बस मैम यहाँ साइन कर रही हूँ. They have no courtesies. They just walk in. Then nobody says, "May I come in?" And you first sat down there, waited. Then you came and said, and you saluted. You said good morning to me. You said, yeah, and you said, "May I come in?" Nobody does that. So why does it happen? And then, of course, that's a long story, what happened thereafter. But I'm saying that this goes into our blood. It's on our DNA. And I don't think any one of us thinks it's a favor we are doing or it is something out of the way. I think it's become a part of our nature.
So here, like you've also shared this incidents. What another question is, I would like to ask you is that when we are talking of defense, or as you mentioned about the background, and you joined at the early age of your career. But then what about the boys nowadays or men nowadays and those who don't have any such defense background, especially the younger generation? How do you think that we can inculcate these habits? Because even as part of my uh, thought process, even I keep doing these things of offering seats in the metro or in a bus to elders. I mean, basic. If you see, if an elder person is in front of you, you open the door for them, be it a man or a woman. If you see someone carrying heavy stuff, you automatically help them. You don't wait to tell them that look around helplessly, that how can someone help you. So these are things which cannot be taught, I believe. These should be there within you. And so how do you think that the points which you mentioned, behaving towards a lady, how can we imbibe them in a younger generation?
So there are two, three aspects to it. One, I feel that today's generation has become very different. I don't think the girls have to do much because the boys are already adjusting. Now, when I see a couple getting married, it is taken for granted, particularly when the women are working, that the husband is equally involved in the house. Now, for a husband to be helping in the kitchen or helping on the washing machine or even cleaning or washing nappies of the child has become the norm. So now
Right.
I see this very closely between my daughter and my son-in-law. I also see that amongst all their friends. That I would in our times it was a little awkward if I was to be carrying a baby in the officer's mess or something. Nowadays, people do it. Even in the army, I've seen. I've gone to some parties where it is quite accepted, and people don't feel hesitant. Secondly,
Right.
I find that today, like bringing up a child, every couple that I see now, the new ones, the men take equal responsibility without feeling. In our time, it used to be, oh, ये तो वो क्या है क्या बोलते थे
Joru ka gulam.
जोरू का गुलाम है हाँ
Gulam.
the moment you did something, and I'll tell you, sometimes I used to help my wife in something, I used to make sure nobody comes to know, because you would be taunted by your friends and all saying, oh, तो बड़ा जोरू का गुलाम है. Now that doesn't exist. So I think,
Right.
firstly, the trends in the new generation are already leaning towards this, and I don't think women today, the younger ones, can actually complain about it. Also, what you said is, now I'm 73 and I've got knee replacement done. So, like, if I'm going in the aircraft, sometimes for me to carry my bag is a little heavy. I have seen many young girls walk up to me and say, "Sir, can I take it for you?" And my mindset doesn't permit that. How can a lady carry my bag? Hmm?
Right.
Now, the other day, I was to take one of my colleagues to a training session, and she was to meet me in midway. I did everything possible to make sure that she was not there before me, although she's much younger and all. So I said, I can't keep a lady waiting on the road. I should be there so that when she comes, she was to come in an auto. When she comes, she should be able to walk into my car straight away. She should not spend even 5 minutes on the road. These are mindsets. They are not, as you said rightly, they are not taught. But I think in the army, we were taught. We were taught in the beginning, and we
Yes.
were told
No,
very
that's
clearly. So,
yes, that's the reason I spoke more of the civil part, because
so now
defense
I'm saying that this culture in the civil is coming up, and I think the boys already have settled down to this. Like today, when my grandson was born, my son-in-law was in the labor room. We didn't have these type of traditions those days. So the very fact that a husband sees the delivery, I'm told it has a psychological effect on what has the wife gone through. So the respect for the woman goes up because
That's
you started realizing the difficulty she has gone. I only have one worry and issues about today's generation is that the girls also have come up with, or probably even the mothers are teaching them, that don't worry, if something goes wrong, come back home. So the fuse goes off without it. Marriages may adjustment is there. Just a small little thing happens and I'm divorcing you. Now this
Right.
has become, while
Yes.
men have to respect women, the women also have to respect a relationship. And so many children suffer because of this. The couple separates and the person who really suffers as a child. So these are
I
some
think
of the
that's
things where adjustments have to go on in society. But overall, I think the picture is not so bad.
Sir, I totally agree because you're harping upon the point of a fine balance between, adjusting and that threshold level where you feel this cannot be taken, because sometimes that difference between you are being, tortured, or you are going through a mental trauma, or you are adjusting, needs to be understood, is what I feel. As you very correctly said, that just at a drop of a hat you cannot walk out, because after all, at the end of the day, it is adjustment from both the angles. And also you cannot keep on taking things, and you have to understand what
Fine
is going
balance
on.
between the two. Yeah.
Fine
Now,
balance,
see, I'll
absolutely.
tell you also that what was happening not only in my generation, I'm talking about my parents' generation. I know of many women, particularly in our family, they lived with their husbands through misery for years just because of that stigma. Just because if I walk out, firstly, insecurity, they were not able to earn for themselves, so there was a financial insecurity. Then there was an insecurity of log kya kahenge, big thing. So that was also bad. That was very bad, that you are adjusting to the extent that you are going to live a miserable life just because you allow the man to do what he wants to. And today it is the other extreme. So I think there's a balance in between where there is a responsibility of both the people in the couple, both, to adjust. And not for anyone to expect more from the other. And the one word that they have to understand is mutual respect. Mutual respect. You have to respect.
Sir, so I think that, like, it's all very beautifully summed up what you have said. And moving towards the last question of this conversation, I would just like to ask you that what is that one suggestion, point, or advice you would like to give to men in order to, have a easier conversation, or rather approach towards women?
So number one, I want the
I mean,
men to.
it can be multiple points, but I
Yeah.
would like to say at least one point which you would
No,
like
no,
to
I'll tell you a
suggest.
couple of things. One
Right, sure.
is a man should realize that there is nothing that makes him supreme, right? That is one point. The second is that it should be a mindset to give respect to your wife. You have to actually, I tell people, you must even respect a maid. You should respect a driver. Those people are human beings. If they are less fortunate to be educated and earning as good as you, they don't need to be ill-treated. They don't need to be dominated. And in my life, I do that. My driver will sit with me when we stop at a place to have some snacks and all. I don't say udhar baith jao and unko ye bhej do. Nahin. He sits with me and he eats what he wants. I don't tell him ki I'll give you this. No. So when you treat people like this, it is a respect to the other human being. Okay. Now, this one point I would like to tell the women, and that's a very strong point with me. All the time when people talk about equality, people talk about dominance, people talk about women not getting the same treatment in the corporate world like the men do, I start asking one question: who's responsible? And if you trace back, and it's my view, many people don't agree, but that is, I have not been convinced by anyone against it. I said it starts with the home, where all the time this problem happens with the mother. When a girl child is born, I have hardly ever heard of a man, that is a father-in-law, saying ki बेटी क्यों हो गई? The first person who cries and yells and complains is the mother-in-law or the mother of the boy. Okay, why is that? They say she has suffered, so she doesn't want another person to suffer. No, I think she has accepted that women are not respected or they're not equal, so I shouldn't give birth to another child, or I shouldn't
Girl
have
child.
another girl child.
Girl child.
When my daughter was born, so there was a commandant of mine, and he used to ask, Sushil, what would you like to have, a son or a daughter? I said, sir, I wish I had a choice, but there's no choice. I say, whoever comes should be healthy. Okay.
Healthy.
He said, no, but still, if you had a choice. I said, sir, if I had a choice, I want a daughter. He said, why? I said, I never had a sister, and I always felt that a daughter is more loving than a son. Okay. So anyway, I was lucky that I was blessed with a daughter. Now, she was born in a nursing home in Delhi, and my mother ordered laddus which were given to everyone in the nursing home, all the patients, all the sisters. So one sister came to her and said, आंटी मैंने कभी आज तक यहाँ पे लड़की के पैदा होने पे लड्डू नहीं देखे. See, so the point is, so it starts from it was not I who ordered the laddus, my mother did that. So if you have that type of a thing, now if you hear, let's say the mother is telling the daughter, तो 8 बजे से पहले जरूर घर आ जाना, and the brother is standing next to her, and he's not told that. So you can be there to tease other girls, but my daughter should be safe. What nonsense! If anything that goes wrong, who's the root cause? The boy? Then why aren't boys taught right from the beginning? And who teaches them? The mother. Why don't the mothers tell sons, you better behave yourselves? If this culture comes in, no women problem will happen. The problem starts there. The mother allows the son to do what he wants to and protects her girl. Stop doing that, I said.
So, but here one question is, like, why do you say only mother? Isn't the responsibility of both father?
It is. I agree with you.
As
I agree with you. I'm saying the dominant view. Because in my life, I may be wrong. I have not heard many male people crying over a girl child. The first person, even in movies, you'll find the lady having more trouble with the girl child than the boy. And so many girls who have come on TEDx talks and all talk about how she felt like an unwanted child. And today my wife does past life regressions and all. She says that the child in the womb, when it's in the womb of the mother, whatever is happening around, he's listening. And many children who have said is, I was born with the feeling that I'm unwanted in this world. Because that child had heard it in the womb. Because there were talk in the family, I hope ladka hoga, ladki to nahi hogi, and all that. Yeah.
How the
so anyway, but that's one view. And even if I'm wrong, is it some caution? Is it at least a point to be taken by the ladies? If you're doing it, it's fine. If a lady is not worried about getting a girl child, it's fine. But if those people who have, at least they should get a little enlightened with what I'm saying, that please understand that why not kill the root cause, tell boys to behave.
So thank you so much, sir. And here I'm going to leave the viewers what they think about this, and what on the last portion of your talk, what are their thoughts, and they can always comment upon it, because it's very interesting thing which you have mentioned about the thought process of the women. So thank you so much, sir. And I will also tell all the viewers that those who want to connect with sir, they can check his LinkedIn profile, go on his LinkedIn profile, Google about him. He is a well-known personality, and get in touch with him for any, not only leadership coaching, but anything they want to talk about and understand the perspective of life. So That's wonderful, sir. That's wonderful, and I'm sure people would like to connect with you also. I'm so thankful for you taking out time for this show. We've been planning it since long, and thank you so much for sharing such wonderful views and very helpful views. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much.